Hi everybody, Beth here from Access Paranormal for this week's I Want to Know, which is all about psychic projection. There's a lot of misconception about what it could possibly be. There's kind of a bit of blurred lines here and there about what its actual meaning is, things like that. So we'll go into a little bit about that first. Again, as always, love your comments, love your thoughts about what you think it is. Have you experienced it? Have you known other people that have experienced it? What are your thoughts if it's actually something that might be sort of somewhat legit as a phenomena? I would love to know. So by all means, use the comment section down below, and I'd love to know your thoughts on that as well. So psychic projection. I know there was an interesting comment from Tim about the fact, is it putting a projector into the sky? Astral projection. Okay. So yeah, no, it's not quite that. But good try, Tim. Good try. Hi, Karen. Hi, Julie. So we're talking about psychic projection, not astral projection. So that's the first thing. And I know that Buzz had mentioned in one of my when I posted this. Thanks, mate, for that, because it was something I wanted to address anyway. Was you know, is it the same as astral projection? Is psychic projection the same? It's like, well, you know, you think about it, the terminology is not too different. Safe to say it's actually completely different. Psychic projection is a lot more intentional, a lot more conscious, and a lot more about pushing energy out from you, perceivably, and going to affect something as such. Astral projection is more about leaving your body and going somewhere. So whether it's remote viewing or, you know, all that kind of stuff, it's more of it's you physically leaving your body kind of stuff. So very, very different points of view, very different terminology as well. Hey Yuri, hey Rob, hey Jules, good to see you guys. Damo, good to see you here, mate, as well. And Heath, good to see you too, lovely. So yeah, there is a big difference. So it's, as I said, one's intentional, one's full on, one's pushing energy out. The other one is more about actually leaving your body physically and going somewhere else. Both are kind of like involuntary or subconscious, but that's the general gist of that. Also, as well, some people may term psychic sort of, you know, projection as being something like a psychic imprint. So, I mean, a lot of people in the paranormal will know that as residual hauntings or non-interactive hauntings. That's obviously not the case as well. It's a very, very different thing. Again, this has got more intention to it. It's not something that's quite as random. So people really are putting focus on a particular object or person or anything in that regard. And it's got that drive with it as well. Mine. Cool. Good to see you. Hey, Danny. Good to see you. So that's what it's not. So that's the first things we've got to think about. It's not astral projection and it's not psychic imprinting. You know, psychic projection is something that is intentional and set to set something out towards something in it. So, hi Jason, good to see you here, mate. So I've talked about a little about what it's not. What actually is it? So what is psychic projection? It's basically a transference of information known some telepathically, I guess you could say, really based on psi ability. So psi being psychic ability. A lot of parapsychologists have done a lot of study about this over the years, as well as all other different types of cases. Hi Karen, good to see you, lovely. So it's more that kind of it's telepathically moving information and energy and changing into something, whether it be an object and or a person. A lot of people may or may not have heard of what is known as the Philip experiment. If you haven't heard about it, hi Andrew. If you haven't heard about it, then go and Google it. You'll find something really, really quickly about some of the basic information about it. But for those who may not have known or heard of the Philip experiment, literally it's a group of people over a period of time that really focus their intent. And I said psychic projection, so really kind of focusing their intent on the details of a made up person. So they made up the history, what they looked like, all this kind of stuff, all the detail that you would think if you were to try and research somebody who had passed over, and actually with the intent of creating their own ghost just over time. So it's like the movie, I won't ruin the end. I'll let you find that information out and go and research it. Really interesting stuff. Hi Steve, good to see you here, mate. Hey Ben. So yeah, so really, really great case. Another one to also look at is called the Scole experiment, SCOLE. skull experiment. Again, similar scenario as well, but this is more from objects moving around the room as opposed to actually trying to create a particular entity as well. So they had some interesting events happen there. Again, go and read it, find out for yourself for whether or not you think it might be legit in any way, shape or form. Also, there has been some research, and I can't find a lot about it recently, but there's information I've come across over the years where people have actually put images and intent onto film. So it's analog film, obviously not digital film. It's mind you, I guess that, if we talk about ITC and things like that and what we capture, maybe not, but this has been a particular situation where they've actually put intention and thought onto actual film itself. And the actual, so unexposed film, so it's in a camera, sitting somewhere, and their intent and thoughts have wanted to move information through telepathically to this particular camera, and the actual film will then actually, once it's exposed, will come across with either a face or a landscape or anything that person has tried to intently put into that particular device as well. Hi Gypsy, how are you? Lovely. So yeah, there's a couple of different ways in which you can have a look at some research there. As I said, there's not a lot on the internet when it comes to trying to find stuff about people putting, psychic imprints into film as such. But yeah, definitely the skull experiment and the Philip experiment as well. I'll talk about a couple of other resources afterwards as well if you really are interested in learning a little bit more about that too. Okay, so what on earth has this got to do with the paranormal? Psychic imprints? Like, come on, let's go out there and, let's grab our EMF detectors and run out there and find out if there's anything out there. No, there is a reason for this stuff, trust me. So when it comes to the paranormal, and we're asking out all the time, so, some of us use observation. We sit and observe an environment. Some would like to go out and actively try to see whether or not something is there. Think about it. If we're actually actively asking out and wanting and intently for activity to occur or communication to occur, then it's entirely possible to a degree that maybe we're actually creating our own answers from that. Maybe we are creating our own audio recordings, or just purely from intent. If we can actually affect an object telepathically in some way with psi ability, then maybe there is no such thing as an afterlife. Maybe we're actually all just doing it ourselves, and our wants to create that and make that happen. Hang on. So, yes, Karen, interesting that you mentioned Brian. Brian J. Kano had a group at Arrowdale. She said, we all focused intensely on the word for a minute or two, and as recorded the word did appear to during playback. So what happens, so Karen was in a group when Brian Kano came over to Australia, and what they did is everyone focused on a particular word, looking at this particular voice recorder, and to the point where whether or not when they listened back, whether that word actually appeared or not, or was heard or not. So again, it's a really interesting experiment to try if you actually are in between investigations, if you have a location that may possibly claim to have possible paranormal activity. It's actually a really good way to kind of like test it out a little bit. If you're really into it, then of course you want to be in a more controlled environment, test it with lots of different people and put controls in place, all that kind of stuff that comes with proper, somewhat paranormal investigating from a scientific perspective. Psychic projection is done with Brian as well. So yes, even Andrew remembered that as well. It's a really cool idea, and one I really recommend as well. I've heard about that too. Putting intent onto a tape, like a cassette tape, exactly. So some people do it with cassette tape. Obviously, with Brian, at that case, it was actually digital voice recorders. So, and again, some interesting results occurred from that as well. The word was moist, Karen said. Surprised it wasn't like g'day or noise or anything like that. So, but yeah, so it could be any word. It could be any word. So anyway, that's the general gist about it. So obviously, when it comes to the paranormal, are we the ones that are actually affecting the results ourselves from us? Or is it actually something from an entity? So it's something to keep in mind. That's why psychic projection is really interesting as a subject. A lot of parapsychological research has gone into it over the years. If you are interested in the Rhine Institute have courses on parapsychology. They're based in the USA, and they also have online courses, which is great for all peeps around the world. The School of Parapsychology in England, which is run by Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, again academically backed, and he obviously covers this content as well. The Australian Institute of Parapsychological Research also does APA. They've got some great courses. I haven't done them personally myself as yet. But again, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this kind of stuff, because it is a possibility of why we may actually be getting responses when it comes to possible paranormal activity. So something to keep in mind there as well. Another couple of people, if you are wanting to research this a little bit more, Ashley Nibb, some people you may or may not have heard. Ashley is a great guy. He's based in the UK. Nibb is spelled K-N-I-B-B. He also writes about this too. And also Sarah from Living Life in Full Spectrum has a great blog out there. And if you want to go and check her out as well, she's got some information about this particular topic too. So go and check that out as well. But I'd love to know your comments as well. If you think it might be something legit as a phenomena. Do you think it's a possibility? Do you think it answers almost every case where we actually hear or see or pick something up? Or do you think maybe it's all to do with a possible spirit entity and it's got nothing to do with this at all? And what your thoughts are and reasoning for that, I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and do take care until next week.